Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my co-host, Bree Tucker.
Why, hello, everybody. How are you on this lovely October day?
We have a fantastic guest for you today. It's Elle Cosimano. She is the author of Finlay, Donovan is Killing It. Oh, no, I need to say it. That's how I pronounce it. It's Finlay. Finlay Donovan is Killing It. Or is it Finlay?
I think it's Finlay.
Finlay. Okay, you guys could just tell me if I pronounce it wrong. Pronouncing names.
Either way, she's killing it. That's all that matters.
Killing it. Mispronouncing names is the hugest fear of mine ever. I don't know. It stops me right there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I mispronounce someone's name?
I mispronounce people's names all the time that I just immediately go to apologizing. But I think part of it too is people mispronounce my name all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, I guess people mispronounce my name. They call me Julianne, but I'm like, it's Joanne.
Where did they get Julie?
A lot of people do it. Maybe it's the way I say it. I don't know. It's okay.
I get Marie a lot. People call if they don't see my name, because my name is Bree, and if I don't articulate well, it ends up being Marie often.
Yeah.
But when they look at it, I get Brianna. That's a big one I get. And I don't like that one. Or Bri. And I'm like, really? You don't see the E?
Yeah, but Elle is amazing.
Yes.
And the way we found her is I'm in this Facebook group called Peloton Moms Book Club, which is the best Facebook group ever because all we do is talk about books, and I love books. But every single person in this book club was recommending this book, Finlay, Donovan is Killing It. And I read it, and it is so good. If you need a great escape read with some mystery and some drama, all about a woman who is doing the best she can and divorced, and yet she falls into this spy. It's so good.
I love it. I
loved
it.
So good. And so we reached out to Elle, and she agreed to come on and talk to us. So she is the award-winning author of Finlay, Donovan is Killing It. She's a homeschooling mom of 2 teens, and she writes mysteries and thrillers for adults and young adults. And her oldest son is getting ready to leave for college. He's already there because it's the fall. And we're going to talk to her all about living abroad. She lived in Mexico for a bit,
which I found fascinating.
And writing and being a writer and all the things. So we hope you enjoy our episode with Elle. If you love listening to No Guilt Mom and how we tell it like it is and help you let go of the guilt, you might just love the Shameless Mom Academy, a top-rated podcast for moms who are looking to rebuild and maybe even totally reinvent their identity around motherhood.
Yes, you have got to join mindset and leadership coach and good friend of ours, Sarah Dean, every Monday and Wednesday as she and her guests dig deep into topics that help you create the confidence that you are craving, how to turn your struggles into those big, strong strengths, and how to build better boundaries, as well as how to make more time just for you every damn day.
Sarah is known for her uncanny ability to speak truth to power, as if she lives inside your head. She'll make you laugh, she may make you cry, and she will definitely inspire you to take action in your life.
So you have got to go check out the Shameless Mom Academy. It is anywhere that you listen to the No Guilt Mom podcast, and we have a link in our show notes.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast, Elle. We're so excited to have you here because we are both big fans of your book, Finlay, Donovan is Killing It. And just to be able to talk with you, it's such a joy. So welcome.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I love chatting with Finlay fans, so this is great fun.
For any of our listeners who have not read Finlay, Donovan is Killing It, and you need a really good escape read that is like thrilling, oh my gosh, we totally recommend it.
Oh, you so have to. Like that was one that like I did the Audible on that, and I just could not wait for my kids to get out of the car so I could listen to more of it. And it's not that I couldn't listen to it with my kids. They're teenagers.
They
so
talk.
Yeah. What are you what's going on? And I'm like, shut up. I'm listening.
The audio is fantastic. And the actress Angela Daw did such an amazing job capturing the characters. I had a fabulous time listening to it. It was great fun.
So for those of our listeners who don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Elle Cosimano. I'm an award-winning mystery and thriller author, novels for adults and young adults. And I am also a mom to two fabulous teenage boys. And so that's more or less what's keeping me busy.
It's a lot. I mean, teenagers especially, it's a lot. Our kids are just becoming teenagers.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay.
I have a 12 and a 14-year-old, almost 13 and 14-year-old. And oh man, those hormones, they never stop.
Oh yeah. But they're so much fun too. They're kind of at this great cusp where they're just on the cusp of adulthood. And so you can communicate with them in a very different way than when they were little.
Oh yeah.
And I have such a great time getting to know them now as young adults. It's been really fun.
I love getting into the deeper conversations. Like, there's like recently when we had the election earlier in the year, it was just like talking about, oh, well, there's this thought process. Why do you think that? And just hearing their process. And especially with my son, he's like, well, I heard this on a YouTube ad. So then I researched it and and then I found this and then I found that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, look at you.
He researched. It was good. It was good.
They have so many resources we never had growing up. And it's so fun, just like you said, to kind of watch and get familiar with their process and how they explore their world. The information that they have at their fingertips is just unbelievable. And it's been fun watching them grow up and become big people.
Yeah. Now, Elle, you have a job and a life that I think many people aspire to. Like they have this dream and this vision of like being a writer and staying at home with your kids. And I know from a little bit of experience that it's not quite like the ideal dream that everybody says it is. But tell us a little bit about like, how did you start writing and like, how did that fit in with your family?
Yeah. Well, I was in real estate sales and marketing for many years. I think over a span of probably close to 14 years that I was selling and marketing homes. And that was my full-time gig. That was my career. And I never had an inkling that I would ever become an author or pursue writing as a career. That never seemed like an option for me. And I sort of, my family likes to joke that it was my midlife crisis, my big career change, that it was very clear to me that I was unhappy in my career. I was very good at it. I was making a great living at it. It was supporting our family, but I wasn't feeling that sense of fulfillment. And I was at a really kind of, a tough place where I was thinking, is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? And it was my mom who encouraged me to take a sabbatical from work and pursue writing a novel just for myself, just, to try to kind of fulfill that void I was feeling at that time. My kids were pretty little. This was about 10 years ago. And so they were in elementary school, and life was very hectic and my job was very demanding. And I was feeling like I wasn't as available for them as I would have liked to have been. I was gone a lot showing homes, and weekends were not, it wasn't possible to spend nights and weekends with them, which is, when they're home and they were needing me. And so I ended up taking a 2-month sabbatical to draft a novel for myself. And I had such a great time doing it. And I came back from that trip. My mom and dad were living in Mexico. They were retired in Mexico at the time. And I spent the summer down there with the kids. And my mom helped watch the boys while I took some time to write the book. And I came home from that trip, and my husband was so relieved. He said, "You're going back to work?" And I said, I don't know. I enjoyed this. I feel really good about it. And he said, "Well, are you any good at it?" And I said, I just don't know the answer to that question. And he said, well, how do we find out? And that was kind of the beginning of the journey, was trying to figure out, can I do this well enough to make a living at it? And what would a living writing look like? And it was so vastly different from, what I'd been doing before. A lot of people have very different ideas of what it means to be a full-time writer. What does that career look like? What do our workspaces look like? What do our paychecks look like? And the reality is that for most of us, we can't afford to do this on a single income full-time. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of writers are doing this part-time with a full-time job that pays the bills and supports, the family, unless they're dual earners in the home that kind of make that more possible. And thankfully, I was in that situation where my husband was able to kind of balance the load while I made that transition to trying to pursue this as a career. And I'm very, very thankful that I had a lot of support, family support, that made that possible. But it was a huge, huge change to go from that full-time, real estate career woman to hunkering down and drafting novels that I wasn't even sure were going to sell.
That's so funny that you said you were a real estate career woman, because I always I'm thinking back to Finlay. Donovan is killing it. And you have kind of this struggle that Finlay's going through as a writer, how she got really small checks. Mm-hmm. But then the other woman is a real estate person.
Right. They always say, write what you know. And so, the world of real estate and real estate in Northern Virginia was intimately familiar to me. I did it for many years. Yeah. But it's also kind of a neat way to contrast those two people and those two identities that at the time when I was drafting this, I was still, are still fresh in my mind, that person that I was and this person that I am, solidly becoming. And so it was fun to almost poke fun at myself and my career and my industry, both of my industries, and use that as kind of a launching pad for a character arc in terms of Finlay's growth through the story, a little behind the scenes.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Bree, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays, because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
I love that. I love seeing the connections between the authors and then what they write, because there's always like
I did not
something
put
in
that together
fiction.
until you said, and then you heard me. And oh, now I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But okay, but I also love how you talked about how it's not what everybody envisions, because I think many of us envision a writing life as being so freeing and like Hemingway, who like, lived abroad and like they romanticize it in the media of like, you're sitting on a beach and you're writing, or I would imagine like when I was reading your bio that you have lived in Mexico, I'm like, oh, she must have lived in this beautiful beachfront property and like, gorgeous $1 million home and was writing and just every day was just loosey goosey and so relaxed. And I thought that wasn't the reality, huh?
No, not at all. It's so funny because when I tell people this story, they kind of shake their head. When I first started writing, we were doing very, very well. Real estate was, a very lucrative career for me. And we knew we were going to have to make some huge financial sacrifices to make this work. And so to make a long story super short, we sold everything we owned. And what did not fit in the back of a station wagon, including my 80-pound dog, was not coming with us. We each had one suitcase of clothes and a suitcase of precious things that we were not willing to part with. Mm-hmm. And we made the 8-day drive from Washington, D.C., all around Mexico to the Yucatan Peninsula. And we ended up living very close to Tulum and Playa del Carmen for 6 years. But when we got there, we came with almost nothing. And we made the decision to live very, very simply. And I think part of that was a desire to show our children a simpler way of life, and to appreciate our family more. We wanted to have, our goals were more time as a family, a simpler way of life, and for me to be able to pursue something I loved. And those were the 3 goals when we got down there. And it was probably the best decision we ever made it as a family. And I have no regrets at all, even though we've returned to the United States. But we were living in a thatch roof hut, more or less, with a small enclosure for our bedrooms. My kitchen was outside. My dining room was outside. We got tarantulas, we got snakes, we got pumas, we got all manner of wildlife and critters. I'd wake up in the morning. It was always a mystery what I was going to find roaming about my kitchen.
Oh my goodness.
And we lived very, very simply. My youngest child spent 6 years barefoot, roaming the jungle and the beach. And we spent a lot of time in a very small space as a very close family. And it was awesome. But there was a lot of work too. And so when everyone else was out at the beach, partying, there were times when I was locked away trying to meet deadlines. And it was a combination of big financial sacrifice and lots of work. Mm-hmm. And eventually that career slowly started to form into something that we could call a full-time sustainable career.
How old were your kids when you did that move?
5 and 8.
That's some young kids to pick up everything and go. So that's amazing.
They're hugely resilient at that age.
Yeah. I was going to say, how did they adjust to that? The change in culture?
It was awesome. So they both for a short time attended an international school that had a focus on arts and handcrafts and languages and world cultures. And so my oldest came away completely fluent in Spanish and bilingual, and my youngest is getting there. He still studies, but they met kids from all over the world and learned a life and a culture that is distinctly different from, anything they would have experienced here. They became tremendously adaptable. They learned to live in a lot of, without a lot of luxuries that they had here. And it was a fantastic experience for them at that age. It was almost perfect. And they came away from that with a real sense of gratitude and appreciation and a resilience that I admire. They're becoming great adults. And I think it was part of a result of that experience.
So I remember before you said when your husband saw your first draft of the manuscript and he asked, well, how do we find out if you're good at it? I imagine part of that was the moving to Mexico and pursuing it full time. So you didn't have anything, but what else did you do to find out you were good at it?
So the first step to becoming traditionally published in most senses involves finding a literary agent, someone who's willing to represent and champion your work to publishers. And in order to kind of get to that process, I signed myself up for writing conferences where I knew there were going to be editors or agents there who could provide critical feedback, someone who I could kind of present a portion of my work to, and they would come back at me and say, yeah, there's something here you could work with, but here's what you need to do. Or, yeah, maybe we should go back to selling houses, you know? And so I was very, very fortunate. I went to a writer's workshop where there were agents and editors working in small, close groups with the writers, the aspiring writers who were there. And I got some great feedback that encouraged me to keep going. So the next step for me was querying or submitting samples of my work to literary agents to try to find someone who would champion my projects. And after a year of, behind closed doors, kind of rewriting and retooling and reworking that first project, we were finally able to go out on submission to publishers with it. So it was a kind of a long exercise in trying to get my feet under me. It was such a different skill than anything I'd done before, and I had no formal training.
Did you experience a lot of rejection during that process?
Yes. Oh, yes. And I think we still do. I think that's an ongoing part of being an author. And, kind of tying that back to motherhood, it's one of the things that I love most is that my children get to see me fail.
That's what I was going to say. Like the gifts you gave them in this whole process of follow your dreams, believe in yourself, supporting each other, the importance, like that relationship that you and your husband have where he was like, okay, I'm scared, but let's try it, and like supporting in that movement and your kids getting to see that persistence is what works. That's just so amazing.
Yeah. They've learned a lot of life lessons watching me fail forward through this process. So, with every rejection, I was very open about it. I told them when I got rejection letters or when I sent a manuscript and my editor was like, nope, we got to start all over and I got to start the book from scratch. My kids were all part of that process. And it was important to me that they understand that you can always bounce back from that, but that I always found joy in it too. It was a stumbling block, but it was never a dead end. And it was important for me that they pick up those lessons that through their life, they're going to hit a wall and they're going to have to find a way around it or through it, if they want to get to, a goal or a place in their life that they want to be. And so it was important to me that they see how I did that and bounced back and kept going and continued to try to find joy in it, even through the difficult times.
Are there times now where you watch your kids and you see them using the lessons that you taught them about rejection and failing forward?
I love pointing out when they are, because, they never like to admit mom is right about anything.
No,
that's
of course
part of
not.
having teenagers.
No. Yeah.
But, it's funny now when they sit down to write an essay for English class or to do a project for school or whatever it is. And they find that they get feedback back from a teacher and they did something wrong or they got to start again or it didn't quite come together. And then they've got to go back and revise. I was like, well, you've seen me doing it for years. This is all part of, revision is part of life. Regardless of your career, there's always something that we mess up that we got to go back and fix or change or do better. And it's just part of the process.
You mentioned before we started recording that your oldest is going to be graduating high school here next week. Mm-hmm. Does he have any idea? Like, is he going to, does he have interest in writing or what is he thinking he wants to do as his next step?
Hey, Aubrey here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving mean those I love, a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
You know, neither of my kids are expressing interest in writing. They all have an appreciation for it, and they're all storytellers in their own right, just through different mediums, which I find fascinating. They're both very creative storytellers, but neither one of them want to write. But it's always been important to me that they understand that I will support them no matter what career path they choose. I want them to pick something that makes them feel fulfilled, and I want them to, work hard enough at it that they commit themselves to it 100%. Those are the two things that are most important to me, regardless of what they choose to do. And they're so different. My oldest is going to be going off to college next year, and he is going to be studying creative technologies and game design. And he's very good with computers, and he loves the story elements in games and how those come together. My youngest is just super creative and loves the anatomies of storytelling. He's very astute, but he hates to pick up a pen and doesn't like to write. So I'll be very curious to see where he takes that skill, what direction. But he's my naturalist, my biologist. So we'll see which direction he goes.
I think any job where you find that creative outlet is a happy, it's a happy place to
Wherever
be.
you can find the place where it's what you love to do and what you're good at, then like your whole world opens up.
Yeah, any job where I have just paperwork, not Breeze Fit.
No.
There's got to be creativity to it. There's got to be something.
creativity. So what do you have coming up, Elle, that you're excited about?
So many things. Personally, I'm sending my oldest child off to college, which is both terrifying but also thrilling at the same time. I'm super proud of him, but I'm also anticipating going through a lot of tissues when I take him off to school. So we're both excited and also a little weepy as we think through what we have coming up in that regard. And my youngest and he's an explorer, and I think he and I are going to spend some time over the next 3 years while I have him at home doing a little cross-country exploring. So we're going to go try to see some national parks. We're going to go hit the road. While I'm out there, I'm going to try to stop and meet with readers and visit some bookstores. We're going to see the Grand Canyon and the national parks and have an adventure.
That's our state, Grand Canyon.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about that. Professionally, I've got a lot going on. I've got my next young adult fantasy is coming out on June 8th, Seasons of Chaos, and that's the sequel to Seasons of the Storm. And so that's super exciting. And the next book in the Finlay Donovan is Killing It series, comes out on February 1st.
I love it.
That's Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, and I'm super excited about that. And we just signed a contract for 2 more books in the Finlay Donovan series. So Finlay Donovan 3 and 4 on the burner for 2023 and 2024.
I can't wait.
So exciting because you left us on kind of a cliffhanger at the end of Finlay Donovan. It's killing it. And you're like, what is that? So I'm super excited.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Elle, for coming on the podcast and joining us. It's been a joy.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you so much. It was great seeing you both.
So I was so excited when I opened my Kindle app the other day and I saw Elle's next book, Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. The cover is there on Kindle. It is getting ready to pre-order.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, again, we just have to give a shout out for Finlay Donovan is Killing It. It was just a phenomenal, easy, fun read. I think that no matter where you are in your mommy life, you will be able to relate to parts of it and just laugh your booty off. And she has a whole series now that she
has
got
a whole
series ordered. So we're getting ready for the second book.
Which is amazing because Finley's one of those characters as a reader that you're just like, oh, like you're sad when the book ends because you've loved spending the time with them. And so when I found out from Elle that it was going to be a series, and it's kind of evident, like read the first book, it's evident there's more coming. But I was so happy because it's amazing. It's fun and amazing. I really love her. I can't recommend the book enough.
Yes. So that chat with Elle was so much fun. I was mainly drawn to, I wanted to hear about what goes on in your brain that makes you go, let's just up everything. Let's just uproot everything and go from our, suburban home in the Washington, D.C. area and just go move to Mexico. Let's just go try that.
She's adventurous.
Right? And when they went out there, like, that wasn't even just like going and moving to like a casita or something. Like, they were living in the jungle pretty much out there. The life that those kids, the experiences that they got to have, and then her talking about trying to write while out there and all the fears that she had. And you were also relating to how she was talking about sometimes, like, she was like, I just don't know if I want to write.
Yeah. It's funny as a writer. It's a hard thing. It's an emotional thing and it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of struggle to write. And I was like, yeah, I've been there. I don't know if I want to write sometimes either.
I think it's interesting that for those of us that haven't done something, especially when we see things that are creative, I think that sometimes society, we can just sort of like one off it like, oh, well,
they're
it's
just born
so
to do
easy.
it.
It's got to be so easy to
easy.
write. It's got to be so easy to create art. Like, it's got to be so easy to do that stuff. And no, it takes a lot of...
It takes a lot. And you have to be willing to like put your crap out there before you get to like really good stuff. And that's something I love about writing that I didn't know about it to begin with. I thought I was a horrible writer, like when I was in college, whenever. And I realized that you just have to get your thoughts on the page and then the real... like good stuff comes in revising and it comes in going over it. And it's like, oh no, like that's not the way to say it. This is what I meant. And you just go through and you reread your stuff and you're like, oh no, I'm going to change this. And pretty soon you've shaped it to be this thing where, oh my gosh, these are the feelings I have. And now it's right there on the page. It's so cool.
That takes a lot of patience.
It does.
I don't think all of us have.
It's a lot of stepping away. Like, I want to throw my computer at the wall multiple times every time I write. Or like when it's not coming easily, like you just like, okay, I just got to take a break and come back to it later. And it's always better later. But
yeah,
it's a frustrating process. But if you know that you're supposed to be frustrated and that means you're doing it right, it's fine.
Yeah. So we have to highly suggest that you go out and you pre-order Elle's new book.
It is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead.
Yes. And that one's coming out February.
Get Finlay Donovan is Killing It as well. And hey, if you are like thinking, oh my gosh, it's so cool they get to talk to authors. We had Elle in our Balance coaching program for moms. Like, come and join us in Balance and you get access and you get to meet all of these amazing people that we interview on the podcast and ask them questions of your own. So just keep that in mind because Balance is cool. And until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday who was pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.